Alexis. Hello, and welcome once again to another episode of the Small Bear and Pickles Show. And this is a sort of a sporadic um, YouTube show where I and the lovely and amazing Aaliyah Celeste Williams, we interview some of the most distinguished and exciting creatives on planet Earth. Um, our last, it was only a few days ago, actually. We
Yeah.
talked to J.R. Tomani, who is probably one of the most well-known and well-regarded philosophers, poets, artists, and alive today. Is a young guy whose work is recognized by, among others, Cornell West, who wrote the foreword to his thesis. He was created the first American philosophical system, and people like Gayatri, Chakravorty Spivak are fans of his. He's extremely bright guy, and we are collaborating on a philosophical system and some other things. So, um, my name is again is Alex S. Johnson. I founded Nocturnicorn Books, and I also am the co-founder of um, the whimsicalist movement, which is a new cultural movement that was named by my father, Stephen M. Johnson. And our founding members are myself, Aaliyah, our dear friend Ellen Mabey, the poet and actress and recording artist. And we have our honorary member is Bjork, because Bjork is a fan of my dad, Stephen M. Johnson, so who's an inventor. He calls himself a whimsicalist and a possibilicist. So that is why we have Bjork on board. And I'm 2 degrees of separation away from Bjork. So I've been trying to get direct contact with her. Now, our guests today are two literary living legends, and I say that advisedly. Um, these they need no introduction, but we're going to be on the struggle bus in order to provide some sort of introduction to them. Um, um, First, we have Alexis, Rhone Fancher, and Aaliyah, could you give maybe a little bit of introduction for the very, very few people who are watching this who don't know who Aaliyah, who Alexis Rhone Fancher is?
Okay.
And might I say you're
Bear
looking
with me.
quite
Okay.
lovely.
So, um, well, thank you very much.
This is a
All
casual.
right.
We're not professional.
Okay. Well, I'll read a little bit from here. Uh, so at the beginning of the bio that I found on the website, it says that um, Alexis Ron Fancher's poem. Let's see. When I turned 14, my mother's sister took me to lunch and said, was chosen by Edward Hirsch for inclusion in the best American poetry of 2016. And I'm not sure if this copied right. I hope it did, but I know it cut the end off. But but yeah, her poems and flash fiction have been published in over 200 literary magazines and journals, including Rattle, Verse Daily, Vox Populi. Hopefully, I said that right. Slipstream. Oh wow, there's a lot of them. Spillway, Askew, Plume, the American Journal of Poetry, Pedestal Magazine, Petrichor. I don't know if I said that right.
Apologize.
Duende. There's a lot of them. Very a whole long list of them, and um, and then she also does photography. says find Alexis's photographs on the cover of Witness, Pithead Chapel, the Pedestal magazine, and Heyday, as well as a spread in River Styx and elsewhere. Her street photography is published worldwide, and she's since 2013 she has been nominated for 29 times for the Pushcart Prize, one Best Short Fiction Award, and six Best of the Net Award. And in 2018, she won, I don't know if I'm saying this right, Pangolin? Is that right? Pangolin, Prize for Poetry. Get down. Go. Go. Sorry, my cat. Guest appearance for my cat. Yes, and and it would not let me paste the rest of the bio in there, so I know that I'm missing part of it at the end. So I apologize for that. I have havoc hands,
Havoc hands.
but it's great to meet you, Alexis.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you for joining us, both of you.
Hey, Kat.
Hey, hi, Alexis.
I hope I did okay in
My, yeah. My lovely and talented co-host is an amazing poet. First of all, I'd just like to say, Aaliyah um, is 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 a world-class painter, um, artist. She is her work is stunning. When I saw it, I quickly thought of Brock and Rembrandt, and I'm not even remotely exaggerating. We
Thank
recently
you.
wrote and I published through Nocturnicorn Books a book of dark. It's actually kind of erotica, dark erotica, and pagan witchcraft themed poems with our good friend Sandy DeLuca, who's known as the Queen of Horror. That's her tag. I know that Alexis here is known as the Queen of erotic poetry. So, and I'm very well known for my erotic poetry, among other things. But we recently um, wrote and published um, a book called Thunderstruck, a collection of dark poetry, or dark poetry collection, whichever comes first, which was received a rave review in Cemetery Dance magazine, which is the magazine that Stephen King says that he basically he reads every issue, right? So we're on Stephen King's radar. It's a huge, the reviewer Joshua Gage said that it's an essential, part of any horror library, horror poetry collection. And we had interest from our friend Ma Yangbo, who's the Chinese translator of Moby Dick, right? So, um, so shout out to Ma Yangbo in China. And who, and then um, Catfish McDaris. So I'm just going to basically read from um, the Wikipedia, and I'm not going to read all of it, but and if there's any incorrect information, Kat, please feel free to chime in and correct it, because often Wikipedia gets things wrong. Um, so Stephen Catfish McDaris is an American poet. He's born 1953. American poet and author who's often associated with Allen Ginsberg. He is also notable for having collaborated with Charles Bukowski. McDaris was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico in 1953. After 3 years serving yeah, okay. After 3 years serving in the military as a young man, he hopped freights and hitchhiked across the U.S. and Mexico. He built adobe houses, tamed wild horses, made cattle troughs, worked in a zinc smelter, and painted flagpoles. For a time, he lived in a cave and wintered in a Chevy in Denver. Fascinating. And I think that Cat is really like as awesome as Neil Cassidy. He eventually settled in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where he worked for the United States Postal Service, very like Charles Bukowski. In 1994, he organized a charity event of poetry and music in Milwaukee called Wordstock. During the same year, he also read at the first underground press conference at DePaul University in Chicago. In 1998, he read at a beatnik festival held near Allen Ginsberg's farm. In 2007, he read at Shakespeare and Company bookstore in Paris, which is a distinction um, that Kat shares with our friend Ellen Mabey. Um, Reception and influence. McDaris has published extensively in the small press and independent magazines. He is also often associated with Allen Ginsberg and collaborated with Charles Bukowski on a chapbook called Praying. In addition, his work has appeared in such publications as the Penny Dreadful Review, Chiron, I guess, Review the Shepherd Express, and Blink Inc. Marquette University holds his collected published works and personal papers in their special collections archives, which highly highly distinguished. Awards and nominations include the Uprising Award 1999, the Flash Fiction Award at Gypsy is judged by U.S. Poet Laureate 2010, 2015. He won the Thelonious Monk Award, and his publications include, and I'm just going to read a handful of them. And I know that you wrote a book with we're also Kat and I are also frequently published by Horror Sleaze Trash Press. And so his publications include Van Gogh's Ear Skinners, the Moon Gets Laid Skinners, Pyramids on Mars, Iguana in Your Pocket with Nathan Beatty, Drowning in Your Bloodshot Eyes with Jim Buchanan, Catfish and the Pickles for Magic Buffalo by the Peyote Brothers, which all and most infamously Prying with Charles Bukowski and Jack Micheline. I always mispronounce his name. So we have um, two leading lights in literature of our time. And I'd like to who wants to start out because as Alexis very helpfully suggested, will have about 15 minutes each, which will take us in an hour exactly. And um, so and you can read anything you want. You don't have to read your own work. You can read other people's work as well. I'm going to read some of our more famous contributors to the Burroughs book, including David J. Haskins, who was the founder member of Bauhaus and Love and Rockets, and wrote the song Bela Lugosi's Dead, among many other classic songs for Bauhaus and Love and Rockets. And so, who wants to start us out?
I will.
Okay, cool.
I ain't afraid of no ghost. Okay. This is from Sleeping with the Fish. This guy that's sleeping on the cover, I don't know if you can see it. It's a bum that his house burned down the day before and it killed his dog, man. And he's
Oh,
just
wow.
wasted.
Could you hold it up, Stephen?
Yeah, he was wasted, and he was in Busby, Arizona, and a friend of mine that was taking our books to City Lights in San Francisco did that one. And then I had a famous painting there, lady laying her nipples up on the table,
Oh, nice.
rabbit heads, and lines
Yeah.
of coke. He's getting ready to snort. I like to have covers that are very unusual. Okay, here's going to be one of my kind of middle of the road ones called "La Sea of Mermaids." It started the night, Quick hurt his neck while trying to suck his own dick. This beautiful lady from East St. Louis, Missouri said, "I'm from the show me state, so fucking do it if you want it done." Halfway to Jupiter fucked up, Quick seriously thought maybe his mouth would reach his pecker. She couldn't stop laughing when he told her to call an ambulance because he was frozen in a human pretzel position. After Quick made up a lie about slipping on the ice, and the doctors and the nurses were looking at him, and this hot, sexy woman, like they were escapees from a porno film. Rosita, his little Missouri mule mockingbird, left him. She she wasn't going to stay there overnight. Quick shared the room with this fart bag, snoring, gagging, puking motherfucker with his best with his bed behind a thin curtain just far enough away that he couldn't reach over and knock the shit out of him every once in a while. Rosita, never being one to miss an adventure, went to an adult toy store where Quick, while Quick was incapacitated. She told him later she went to buy a giant blue dildo and some edible panties for a treat for when he got out of the hospital. She left the jack off joint, got hit by a garbage truck with a snowplow bag
I'm sorry.
mounted on the front. While the meat wagon came for her, a dude approached dressed as an evil clown. He was walking a pit bull and had a topless midget woman on his shoulders. The dog went wild when she saw Rosita's ass and fine, fluffy pussy bush lying in the snow. The clown threw the midget up in the air and tried to pull his monster off Rosita's butt cheeks, but his teeth were clamped and locked. The garbage man had no choice. He smacked the dog in the head with a shovel, knocking it cold. The midget attacked 3 men from the crew. The midget lady had the muscles of a weightlifter. She used to wrestle in Chi-Town and Toledo. She was started with a Damascus headlock, used a chicken wing, went into a head scissors power bomb, took off her panties, ended with a tree of woe, rubbed her little itty bitty shaved cunt all over their faces, thoroughly whipping ass on all 3. The clown and the pint-sized woman cradled Rosita and the dog until an ambulance arrived. Rick was just getting out of the hospital when Rosita was admitted. She had a double lawsuit going with a fast-mouthed attorney from television. It took some time to see any dough, but she hit the jackpot. They stayed together for a few months until she got pissed and shit in his Boston Red Sox baseball cap and put it in the microwave with, with a fuck you letter.
Killing me, Smalls.
She was more in love with that big blue dildo than the green paper. He didn't give a fucking rat's ass. He'd always been a barracuda in a sea of mermaids. Thank you.
Oh my
That's how
God.
you end. If you don't say thank you, or this one guy would always say either thank you or you say the end. I kind of like the end. Okay, here's another one from the same book. I don't even know when it was out. It says, one night this motherfucker was blasted on PCP. Quick got out of the slammer after a nickel. He got there. Juanita called and said, "This son of a bitch is trying to fuck me up." The guy had her baby in the microwave and started it. Luckily, Juanita saved the baby. Then he put her cat down the garbage disposal. The cat got its tail mangled and ground off. Juanita called Quick for help. He arrived wearing a red Santa Claus cap. He carried a chrome-plated 357 and a sledgehammer. The motherfucker tried to run out the back door, but the thrown hammer was a fraction faster. The 5 pounds of steel hit him with a sickening fracturing his spinal column. Quick let his sister and the baby and the cat to his car and started to get the heater working. Quick soon soon came out with a rolled up rug tied in several places. He eased it into the trunk of his ride. Juanita asked, "When will that monster be back?" Quick said, "February." And that's the name of that one. All right. Anybody like those or any comments?
Yeah, it's fucking amazing. I mean, you're like Mark Twain and Hunter S. Thompson had a love child with Poppy Z. Bragg, you know.
I don't know about all Mark Twain I've heard. Okay, here, this is one of my favorite books that I've ever done, and it was done a long time ago by Alternate Current. And this is along the same lines as our other one too. It's called Dr. Feelgood. My shrink is Jewish. I see her often. She's very pretty. Last visit, she told me to lay on the couch. I took off my shoes and obeyed. She took off her dress and blue shiny panties. She came over and rubbed her titties all over me. Then she got down on her desk and started fingering her bushy pussy. I undressed and went over and ate her for a while. Then she told me to jack off in a wastebasket. Then she got out some coke and rubbed it all over my dick, and we must have screwed for an hour. Damn doctors are so demanding. That was along the same lines. Okay, this is going to be clean. This is Impala. It was it's one story chap. It's sewed together, and you see these metal things. Those are milagros from Mexican churches where you ask the priest to bless them and all that. Anyway, this one was up for, it's a true story, and it was up for a Pulitzer. You can't say it was nominated for a Pulitzer unless it gets past the third nomination. You can say it was entrant.
Oh, okay.
It's got to be done by an American. They don't take any foreign people. All you got to do it is send in 6 copies and $75, and that's how you get a Pulitzer entrant. Okay, here we go. The Impala. Ricky, my older cousin, loved the needle. Heroin, morphine, speed, LSD. He tried them all. I found him in the back seat of his '60 Chevy Impala, the needle buried in his freckled arm. He was frozen dead. We were in Denver in February, and I took him to a bench in front of a hospital near Larimer Square and bundled him up in his favorite Navajo blanket. It was just before the sun rose above the Rocky Mountains, and therefore I placed him where there a strategic location that was before all the cameras were mounted and stuff. Ricky was my hero, but even heroes go down a dark path. I called his father in New Mexico, and he told me he'd take care of the funeral. And he and Ricky would have wanted me to keep the car. He said I could keep the car. I drove up to Lookout Mountain, looked at the white crosses and plastic flowers that showed where the dead folks met gravity down a steep drop where Coors Brewery was below. None of the Mexicans would drink that horse piss. Adolf Coors refused to hire Mexicans, so everybody drank beer from Milwaukee. I was working a day labor job at the time. I worked cleaning concrete off brick until I discovered I was making 7 and 9 cents an hour. This is a true story too. Then I went to a metal bending factory. I I place a small piece of metal in a machine, then mash a button with my foot, and the machine would go plonk and shoot the bent piece of metal into a bin. I noticed many of the men were missing fingers, and the pay wasn't that hot either. My aunt had married a Mohawk Indian that walked the steel girders in Brooklyn. There was a 25-story bank going up in Denver. They needed an elevator man to distribute heavy steel metal doors on each floor. I told them I'm your man. They were skeptical. I was stronger than I looked. I had no fear of heights. I soon had a regular job, an apartment, a lady, and plenty of money. I watched the sunrise over the foot of the Rockies and missed Ricky. I dozed off on a 23rd story, leaning against a girder. I woke up and it smelled like Sunday. And that was the Impala.
Awesome.
Okay. Is that 15?
I don't know. I have a learning disability where it comes to math.
Did
So
I hypnotize you?
yeah, you're mesmerizing.
Yes. You're all
Yeah,
great.
Yes.
I think that
Well,
was
one more story.
awesome. Yeah, please,
Okay.
please, please.
This is rude, man. This is ruder than I said. Okay, this one's from 27 hammerheads circling ever closer. And that's me and the hammerhead shark. And this is the
Nice.
two whores that supposedly pissed on Obama. There they were pissing on Donald Trump. I like that. Anyway, this is called Amigos. Spaniard sat on the dock smoking a cig, held rolled. He thought about how expensive tobacco was now, and killing yourself ought to be cheaper. He waited on the trucks to arrive so they could be unloaded and maybe he could catch a cat nap in the sun. Spaniard strongman Frank Loon putting him in the shadows. He says, "You met my Uncle Big, Nate, right?" He said, "Yeah. He's starting a roofing business on the north side. Can you think of any catchy names?" I says, "How about a nigger with a big hammer? It would draw attention, both black and white. You could draw some brothers with big hammers for business, stationery, t-shirts, logos for trucks. They would clean up big time." My buddy Frank looked at me and he says, "You are one crazy motherfucker." I said, "I know, and that's why we're amigos." That was,
I love it.
that was a true, that was a true story too. The true ones are usually end up being the better ones. Okay, all done. That's
Okay.
what, that's
Yeah,
what my grandson says when he's all finished. He says, "All done."
all done. Yeah, that was amazing. So yeah,
Yes.
so Alexis, could you please read read some stuff?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Great reading, Kat.
Thank
Yes,
you.
it's great. Thank you for reading.
This one I'm going to open with is called Power Play and was a nominee for Best of the Net in 2020 from Harper Review. And it's one of my favorites. Power Play. When my lover tells me I cannot say no, and I protest, she parts my legs and says, "Yes, baby, yes." I do what I'm told. No becomes a foreign country. I take it as permission, open season. So when the waiter asks if there'll be anything else, I peruse his menu. I'm stuffed, but I say yes, cram my mouth with macaroons and chocolate. And when the Lyft driver seduces me in the rear view, eyes me like prey, asks, "May I kiss you?" I say, "Yes." And when the long-legged woman I've long lusted after at the gym wonders aloud if I'm single, asks me to dinner and a movie, I say yes. And when she invites me into her bed, what can I say but yes, yes, yes? And when my fan in Nova Scotia begs me to be his muse, to sanction an explicit ode to my breasts, my ankles, my lower lip, a poem he'd never show his wife, I cannot say no to his lust and delusion. Now he wants to climb me, sublime me, shoot me full of stars. Is this what you want too? He writes. My answer, yes. And when I return to my lover at last, and she sinks into the heady dampness between my thighs, looks up at me and asks, "Have you been faithful?" I say, "Yes."
Beautiful. Beautiful.
That's
That's
really
awesome.
amazing, Alexis. That's
Beautiful.
beautiful writing.
Thank
And
you.
Gorgeous.
hot.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, and it's hot. Hot as fuck.
Yeah.
That
Beautiful.
Yeah.
just came out. It was just published in Book of Matches, which is a great literary magazine. If you don't know it, it's really hot. So
Thank you for the
anyway,
recommendation. Yeah.
I very much enjoy their work. This is called Like Gretel, an ode to my husband's aversion to clothes. When you come home, you can't get naked quickly enough. When you leave a trail of clothes from the front door to our bedroom, I'm grateful. A straight line from foyer to in the buff, your preferred state. Each discarded piece of propriety brings you one step closer to me. I follow them like breadcrumbs in the perpetual forest of foreplay. Then I eat them, swallow your magic, shoes, socks, Hawaiian shirt. I savor each morsel, the black jeans you favor still warm and tasty. I'm grateful for your jockey shorts, a pungent combination of detergent and sweat. So yummy, I eat it all. Simple to swallow, easy as your kisses, your cock, your tender heart. I know you love me, baby. It's as plain as your t-shirt on the floor.
Nice.
Oh,
Wow.
hells yeah.
Awesome.
Hells yeah. You'll fit right into Nocturnicorn books, I'm telling you right now.
Oh, good. Well, thank you. These next ones, as your request, Alex, are from my favorite book I've ever written. I connect to that. You see it now?
Great photo.
It's kind of fumbling around, but anyway, it's called Junkie Wife, and that's a photograph of me on the cover. I'm going to read a few from here. I went through a period where I was married to a rather abusive man, my first marriage, and I was shooting narcotics at the time, and that's what this book is about. Um, Here's the first poem in the book. It's called Flirting with Death, a love poem. One, in love with the rush, not the high. I'd shoot up again and again. He was a born rescuer. I was perfect, a bottomless pit. We sniffed around each other like dogs. Takes one to know one, he said. Two, before we went to bed, we went to dinner. He kept hold of my right hand. I'm afraid of overdosing, I confessed over coffee. His voice had a nasal quality. Marry me, he begged. Three, in the beginning, we were fierce lovers. Four, shoot me up, he'd plead toward the end, but I wouldn't. He thought it meant I loved him. Five, I didn't. I wanted the drugs for myself. Sorry about that. Anyway, I wanted the drugs for myself. This one is called The Lovers on Piper Beach. I don't think you saw them, scant feet above us, sheltered in a hollow beyond the cliffs. Like watching a porno film, the way she sucked her surfer's lovely cock, her lush blondness shimmering as she dipped her head, his hard body illuminated in the harsh morning sun. We were sitting on a blanket, sucking slowly straight from the bottle. I pointed them out on the cliff, but you were busy with your phone. No service, you groused. You were always someplace else. I watched over your shoulder as he turned to her, entered her from behind, his big hands cupping her breasts, his tireless ass thrusting, thrusting. Jagger's I Can't Get No Satisfaction kept playing in my head like our theme song, the one you couldn't hear. When I pocketed your phone, You asked me to marry you again. On the cliff, the lovers shuddered, broke apart, then embraced, their blonde congruency so at odds with our mismatched desires. Above us, kamikaze seagulls circled. They threw their heads back and screeched. You reached for me, but I was not drunk enough. I would never be drunk enough. On the cliff, the blonde pressed her naked breasts against her lover's chest. He stared over her shoulder at me, his eyes a dare. Then he put his hand to his lips and blew a kiss. I caught it in my mouth. I handed you the phone and started down the beach with the bottle of Stoli, his sweet kiss languishing on my tongue.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great
Awesome.
stuff. I mean, like, I don't know, Sappho comes to mind, Catalyst, I guess. Um, yeah, those are formidable achievements.
This book was a revelation for me because it's the truth.
Hmm.
It really happened, and a lot of your stuff, just
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
But this book was me and my best friend Vicky and my first husband Ron.
Hmm.
And writing this book, I kept trying to blame those two, and it
Right.
came to me like in the middle of writing this book that I was as complicit, I was as culpable as they were, and
Hmm.
I started writing from that point of view, and everything got real, and then the book
Right.
happened. Um,
Wow.
so for me, this is an important.
Amazing. Yeah, and I think it would really, I would love to reprint whatever parts of the book that the junkie wife that you think would be appropriate. We can discuss this afterwards, of course, because and for one thing, it is so close to the Burroughs legacy, and another thing, we have a an autofiction by our dear friend Carrie Lee Chrome, who's the songwriter of, among other songs, California Paradise for the Runaways, and she actually founded the Runaways, the band The Runaways, and she contributed. I guess you would call it autofiction because it's really a true story, called Mootsie Tootsies, which is about her. She struggled with junk as well. So, and that is it's absolutely one of the things that makes this book, The Junk Merchants, too revolutionary because it's mostly original work. So it makes it a primary source as opposed to, most anthologies actually have numerous reprints. They'll have one or two originals, but this is, and nobody has ever seen her original um, fiction before. So this is historic. It's historically and culturally significant. And and Larry Jaffe, who wrote the foreword, I'm gonna have to, send him your stuff as well, and the the story I'm doing with Kat, said this is that the Burroughs book is a holy book. So no less a you know personage than Larry Jaffe himself said that. So yeah, I really appreciate that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail your reading, but yeah, it's great, great stuff, great stuff.
Thank you. You keeping track of the time for me here?
Yeah, sure, no worries.
This one's called Quiet Candy. After you kicked me out and moved Vicky in, I spilled my guts to the Armenian drug dealer at the Glendale Galleria. He told me he'd fix my Porsche, pay off my credit cards, keep me in cashmere and coke in a second. He dressed me in silk that grazed my ass, said he liked the whiteness of my thighs, said if I were his, he'd keep me out of the sun. There I was, strung out on dope, all lanky, pale-skinned lead. The Armenian drug dealer bought me 4-inch Louboutins and a leash, bought me a Stetson to shade my face. I let him move me into his condo in Glendale. The Armenian drug dealer liked to drive the freeways, had business in San Diego and Oceanside and San Juan Capistrano, liked the top down on the Beamer, liked the way my hair whipped in the wind. He liked fucking me in his 3-car garage pinned against the hood. He could do it for hours if I let him. The Armenian drug dealer liked candy on his arm, quiet candy that was loud in the bedroom. He liked my ass raised on a pillow, legs spread like a gull-wing Mercedes. I let him do anything he wanted. He wanted me to tell him about you. I told the Armenian drug dealer how you wrapped Vicky in my mother's embroidered shawl, how you gave her my grandmother's amethyst ring, how you to make your point, how you could only come if you tied me up, how you papered our bedroom with lies. The Armenian drug dealer wanted to storm your house, wanted to tie you up with the same ropes you used on me, wanted to rip my mother's shawl from Vicky's shoulders, wanted to take the rifle out of your hands, wanted to bring back my grandmother's amethyst ring. So I let him. It really was an amethyst ring, and it really was the Armenian drug dealer.
Wow.
Kind of interesting. This one is called Why I Forgave You. Because your eyes were blue as curacao and your table manners impeccable. Because inside your head I was smooth as Michelangelo's Aurora. Because the night was in cahoots with the street lamps and La Dolce Vita was an amusement ride. Because the light was saffron yellow in October and the purple irises were not in bloom. Because I was drunk on vodka sauce. Because I was drunk on you. Because the gnocchi at Dantana's were to die for. Because you swore to die before you lied to me. But I sucked you up under the table anyway. And the moon hid behind my skirt. And we shared cannoli for dessert. And you didn't know. Ricotta sat cool on my tongue. And the Campari tasted as bitter as life.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Wow.
Hells yeah.
Wow.
Anais Nin. I mean, although she's more elegant and you are more direct in a more Bukowski sense. Yeah. And do you know Dominique Lowell?
I'm sorry, who?
Dominique Lowell?
No, I don't. Should I?
Yeah. She is along with Mark Olmsted and Iris Berry um are in the and Ellen Mabey are in the Outlaw Bible of American poetry. And I actually read with Iris at a coffee shop in Redondo Beach around 2011 or so, 2012, yeah, 2012. And so, yeah, because I'm a retired English professor as well, so I always think about the resonance, with other, because we're all obviously within a context of other authors and going way back. I mean, I think of Thomas De Quincey, William S. Burroughs, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and then in the modern sense we had Dennis Cooper and who's the guy um, amazing writer Jim Carroll, right? Jim Carroll. I mean, I do you like Jim Carroll's work at all?
I do. And I
Yeah,
know Iris quite well, and I know
yeah,
quite well, and Mr. Modiano.
yeah. Mr. You know, um, 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 yeah, yeah. Richard Modiano is he well, actually, it was. I'm going to talk about this later. So, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail. I just wanted to add to a little context, to put you into a literary and historic context as well.
All
So,
right, thank you.
yeah, would you like to read something else? So,
Sure, I would love
sure,
to. Um,
great.
uh, this one is also from Jumpy Wife. It's called Keep Walking on Las Palmas Avenue, approaching Hollywood Boulevard. I hear a scream. In the spill of the porch lamp, the girl looks 14, cowering in the courtyard of this windy night, cheap stilettos stemming her pale legs up into tiny shorts. Two men the size of refrigerators slap her face like she's meat that needs tenderizing. One stands behind her, pins her arms. The other brute yells in her face, "You will fuck who I say when I say." When he pulls back to smack her again, I look away. In Hollywood, the streets talk trash, hold murder in their asphalt, bloody in the potholes, use hypodermics float in the gutters, rats dance on the lawn. The girl lurches, stumbles in those 5-inch heels, the only thing separating her from the ground. The two men toss her back and forth like a football. Her eyes catch mine. When her pimp sees me, he hollers in my face, "Keep walking." I'm late. My dealer is impatient. I do what I'm told. High on pot, tequila, beer. I head into the neon of Hollywood Boulevard, keep walking till I can't hear her screams. You want one more, or my
Yeah,
time, or
yeah. Don't worry about
Oh,
the time. Yeah. What?
oh, because he, oh, that's a Lassie spot.
once more, Ronnie said, for old time's sake. In our bedroom in Silver Lake, he ties my wrist to the bedpost one last time, checks the knots. Positioning his body on top of mine, he slips into me, cock growing like a cancer inside. "Move, damn it," he barks. Then he licks my face, dog style, cooling in my next hollow, raspy tongue a reek of toothpaste and pot. I stare past his dirty blondness at a framed Sheila print on the wall. A rapacious threesome, man and two women going at it like rabbits. It could be us. I want to pick up the phone, invite Vicky to join us. Maybe she'd take over. It's troubling the joy I feel at that thought. Now I'm the odd one out, now that my husband isn't mine. Don't move, damn it. When he comes, he wants me rigid, a depository, like I'm there but not there. I shoot junk in my veins like Ronnie shoots into me without thinking. It's suddenly clear. I can see my future. And if I don't stop, I'm not in. There you go.
Yeah, hells yeah.
Nice.
Hells yeah.
Amazing.
Let's see, could I have this is so beautiful, and we're going to talk a lot about the connections between your work and our friends, Patrick Califia and Nancy Kilpatrick and Billy Martin, aka author Poppy C. Bright. So, which is all has resonance, as well as David J. Haskins and Carrie Lee Crum, because it all has resonance, especially with Carrie's history, personal history of trauma as the founder of the Runaways, and her being brutally raped by Kim Fowley, who also raped Jackie Fox, was the bass player of the Runaways. Of course, they went on to much better and brighter things. But so could I have Aaliyah read now?
Sure. Okay. I'm trying to decide which one I want to do first, but I guess I'll start with I'm gonna do Giant Angels from Thunderstruck because I don't think I've read this one on the Small Bear and Pickles show yet. So okay, and this is based on a true thing that happened, and it's hard to explain, but I will just go ahead and read it. Giant Angels, but yeah, it's based on a true story. Giant angels hold you close, wings wrap like sails to the wind, or flags held high as you shed this skin. An airplane falling from the sky. Please, God, I'm not ready to die. Cancer doctors with the cure, and people with families, dreams, goals, every one of them with so much to give. Where the wing meets the body of the plane, hit by a directed wind, takes a nosedive, starts to spin and spin and spin and spin and spin. Plastered up against seats and walls, news says we don't know what made it fall. The plane that carried the cream of the crop. They need you to know that it didn't just drop. I feel the fight begin to start like the war drum in my heart. My battery of friendly fire. Tightrope walking on a wire. So there's
Yeah.
that.
Hells yeah.
And then I could do Blood Red as you
Yeah.
requested if you
This
want.
is yes.
Okay.
This was to put it in context.
Yeah.
I have numerous haters out there, including people that I'll just name. Well, I'm not going to talk about Donald Armfield. Oh, I just did. Whoops. Um, but there's a guy, Red Fox, who does Alien Buddha Press, and he is, I would consider him a fucking terrorist. He said that I'm widely disliked by the entire writing community. And he's tied in with, yes, he's tied in with a guy named Mark Gorshin, who is published with one of the most brutal and heinous of my attackers, Casey Hill of Dark Moon Rising Publications, who is in cahoots with two other people, Jeannie Richter of the Horror Zine and a guy named Christopher B. Pelson, who not only threatened to murder me and my elderly parents, but actually sent me a 100 pack of razor blades with suicide instructions. And so they're all working together. Not unsurprisingly, Jeannie Richter, who hates when I use her name, she's threatened numberless times to sue me for using her name. I will say Jeannie Richter is involved with this, Casey Hill is involved with this, and Red Fox is involved with this, and they're all working together. They've also targeted Aaliyah, and their bullying and harassment of us is just through the roof. So fuck you guys. And in response, Aaliyah wrote a poem for me, which is
Yeah,
called
I
Blood
did.
Red.
Yeah. And this is like one of the first poems I had written in a long time because I was kind of having like a writer's block, kind of a funk of creativity for quite a while. And so, but he was having a bad day, and I just wanted to write something that would like make him feel like you've got like somebody that's in solidarity with you that gets it, I guess. So it's called Blood Red. So, upset, upset. No, bitch, we ain't upset. Yes, we heard what you said. Dead yet? Dead yet? No, bitch, we ain't dead yet. And no, I'm not upset. Dead yet? Dead yet? No, bitch, I ain't dead yet. Yes, I heard what you said, and I ain't gonna let you get ahead. Live rent free in my head. never forget. I turn over instead. Contest, object. No, I am not oppressed. A nation in distress won't let you get ahead. Ahead, ahead. Forgive, never forget. You will live to regret your every attempt at offense. Upset, upset. Yeah, bitch, that's what I said. Go ahead, go ahead. You want to taste a shot of lead? No,
Yeah,
bitch, we ain't dead yet.
yeah,
Blood
hell's yeah.
red, blood red. Everybody's red blooded.
Blooded.
I could not care
Or
less.
less.
Live rent free in
Free
your
in your
head.
head. At
Obsessed at best.
best.
Just a little tiny pest.
Best.
Wallowing in mire under my step. No, bitch, we ain't dead yet.
Yet.
Didn't expect me to resurrect.
Correct.
Everybody's red blooded.
Red-blooded.
The best, the
The
best.
best.
Living rent free in
Free
your
in your
head.
head.
No, I am not oppressed because I'm from the West. Go ahead, ahead. Try to blow me down. Gonna ricochet. No, bitch, we ain't dead yet. Not when I'm from the West. The best. Never forget. Every single one of us is red blooded. The West, the West. That's why we are the best. The best, 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 the best. So yeah, it was like, I don't know. It was kind of supposed to be sort of based on the. I kind of was inspired by the song Bela Lugosi's "Dead." I tried to kind of like follow the rhythm, and it gave me like it kind of helped me get into um, how I was going to write it. I guess I don't really know how to explain it. And then I was thinking about reading one more if I have time.
Of course. Plenty of time. Yeah, plenty of time. Oh, I just wanted to mention, and I'll give you more time. But our friends Richard Modiano, Emily Frank, and Mark Olmsted actually also contributed to the another book that we're doing, which is as equally amazing as the Burroughs, and it has a lot of overlap. It's called Only More Rock Stars, and it's called White on White, a literary tribute to Bauhaus. But I was not aware that Richard, Mark, and I think something Constantine or something like that, Brian Constantine, and
Constantine.
yes. What was his first name?
Brendan.
Brendan Constantine, yeah, and
Right.
and our good friend Amelie Frank um, participated in something called was it Dear Bela, I think. And so I was not aware until recently, and it was very
Yeah.
fortuitous that we're working with David J. Haskins from Bauhaus on two anthologies. One of which is the it's called Moondust Will Cover You. And that's a tribute to David Bowie, so we'll talk about that. And so yeah, and it was really interesting because I started, I've been a lifelong, I mean, for 40 years, I've been a fan of Bauhaus. And then more recently, and I even wrote a poem called White on White, Translucent Black Capes for, do you guys know Kingfisher, Don Kingfisher Campbell? He published that on the Kingfisher Poetry Forum, and it's also in my book, The Flowers of Doom. And this was before I had the idea of approaching David Haskins for the Burroughs book. And I'm sorry, I will. Could I ask you to read Surreal City, Aaliyah?
Oh,
Pickles?
sure. Yeah. I can do that. Let me get that right here. Okay. And bear with me, I'm not really used to reading my poetry aloud to people, so I think this is probably like the first time I've really read to people besides you. And I mean, I've
You're among
occasionally read
friends,
like
so
one
it's all
one
good.
person at a time, maybe. So, okay, I don't have a lot of practice. All
Squeezins.
right.
Practice in the mirror.
Thanks.
Read to yourself.
Surreal City.
Yeah. what
What did
Kat
he say?
said. Read
See
to yourself in the
and
mirror.
you like yourself. Good.
Hmm. Okay,
You
Surreal
can write,
City.
you can email me and I'll
Mhm.
read to me and I'll see how you do it. I'll give you a rating.
Okay.
What happens to me and
Yeah,
Alexis over the years?
that sounds good. Yeah, I need practice with it.
Damn, she's good. Damn, she's fine. You know,
All right. Okay, I'm gonna read that if
No
you want.
disagreement
Okay.
here, by the way. I mean, I'm not, there's no objection to that.
Uh, With warm strokes making a clear course along a cool coast, the sun rises, making its impact here, shining, making us alive. Animals open their eyes. Some of them are dying down, some of them have gone to sleep, and some seldom sleep at all. I come from the nights without sleep, puzzled but in one piece at least. The sun comes without conceal as I study and stray, cutting across the taboo as a trespasser. The sun comes up shining again, telling me to wake up. I never slept. I hear new languages as I walk, with fiery legs in the surreal city. Adults say the strangest things, but it takes courage just to speak. Neither you nor I are from around here, and we do things differently at home. And, do I have time to do one more?
Yes, please.
Okay. So here's another. This one's kind of older, but it's called Hallusions, and I'm not really good at coming up with titles for most of my poems, but for this one, I just kind of took combine the word hallucination and like delusions and illusions, sort of like a hallucinogenic kind of
Beautiful.
that was the idea anyway. So, okay. White mice sit on the corners of tables. They run and hide and nibble in their spaces. They didn't mean to steal, they hunger. White mice turn corners and just out of sight lead me through the maze of tall and small musical chairs. If I could run my hand through you the way I wanted to and find that I never touch the translucent hints, not even in the way it was suggested, well, then it might take a mouse such as this for me to know black blindnesses risen up into a fancy dance, ghosts too fast to get, abstract worms of a multi-producing strain can't explain. The front of the crumble wants to fall to the ground. They travel and take rides on an overtaxed back, pushing short, pushing long, just to watch us jump down this malicious mystery. The way suicides do in this place, the last freedom and the choice. But I have loved a baptism of tears and bathe in it. Yeah, so that's one of my older ones. So,
Mm,
I think that's
mm.
all.
So tasty. So tasty.
Oh,
So
thank
tasty.
you.
Toaster. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joel. Thanks.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm nowhere near as prolific as my fellow people that I'm writing with now, but I'm really, really inspired by everybody. So it's really cool to work with all these awesome people. So
yeah, thank you
and
so much.
everybody's so inspiring.
Yeah, I was just, I was particularly thinking about Surreal City because the lines reminded me of the Bauhaus song, The Passion of Lovers, especially the little foxes are safe and sound. And I'm going to have to
Oh,
bring that one up as well. Maybe we could use that in the Bauhaus book as well.
cool.
Yeah.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Wow. Okay. So, I would like to read, um, this is from the Doom Hippies collection, and this is was actually is blew my fucking mind because Craig Thomas, who's the chief cataloger at the Widener Library, it's called the Widener Library, is um, the flagship library of Harvard University, um, acquired this and the Death Jazz, um, which are both being sold, not the Death Jazz, but Skull Vinyl. I guess I'll give a shout out to Craig Thomas and um, um, Jack Farnell at Worldwide Renegade Poets, who also has Hunter S. Thompson up, Alexis here up, and Ryan Quinn Flanagan up, our mutual friend Ryan, and I'm trying to think, and also A Razor that Iris Berry publishes through, or actually they co-founded Punk Hostage Press. So really really fortunate to all have books up on Worldwide Renegade Poets, thanks to Jack Farnell. And so yeah, so this like I just it's really raw shit. I mean, this is really dark, politically incorrect humor, and I find it just startling that Harvard University students are reading this, right now. I mean, it is in the circulating collection at the Widener Library. And this is a fan favorite story from the Doom Hippies collection. It's called Rinaldo, the world's smallest circus bear. And this is Ronaldo is one of my long running um, creations, and along with Candy Fontaine, Slutty Detective, and Kat has read, who's writing the forward to the 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 third in the power trio of the Doom Hippies series. Well, the final one called Twilight of the Doom Hippies. So, which I'm finishing up. It's about 75,000 words, and it's got plenty of Ronaldo in it. So without further ado, Ronaldo, the world's smallest circus bear. Just from looking at him, few would guess that by the time Ronaldo, the world's smallest circus bear, crossed the Bone City Fairgrounds on his unicycle, his reputation as a liar, thief, con artist, and other darker charges had grown exponentially. Small town sheriffs shook their heads in dismay as they listened to tales of the 1 foot Ursine, cute as can be, but a real shit, whose career of mischief began almost as soon as he was born. A spark from his first blunt set the forest ablaze. Allegations of wire fraud, Ponzi schemes, arson, robbery, and general mayhem attributed to the bear were all but impossible to pin on him. His brown button eyes radiated innocence. His fur was well fluffed. And when his store of patter failed him, he dazzled unbelievers with a mind-boggling array of acrobatics and trick-riding skills. It was a warm day in late July when the shadow of the unicycle fell on the main tent of Circus Berserkus, the craziest show on earth. Without pausing to say a word, Ronaldo pulled the unicycle up the rope ladder that led to the tightrope, sat atop his 3 foot ride, and began to pedal. The gimp, who had fallen asleep on a hay bale, woke to the spectacle of a tiny bear spinning around the tightrope so fast he was almost a blur. He peered down the neck of his whiskey bottle and poured out the last few drops, swearing off the drink until the DTs passed. Then the bear began to juggle. First, ordinary elements, such as balls, then proceeding to butcher knives, cleavers, skewers, tongs, and finally, chainsaws, which completed a mini cycle in the air, a half second after the bear had returned to the ground, where he waited until they fell and used them like stilts. There was no doubt that the bear was an audacious trailblazer with split-second precision and an air of grace. Plus, he was so soft and cuddly that any suspicion of darker levels melted away with a winsome smile and the perking of little ears. And I have, this is a stiff teddy bear I got for Christmas. Ronaldo never lacked for an audience or ready cash. Money seemed to flow to his paws by virtue of some new force in nature. Even when he rested, there was something about him that made people want to give him all they had. Naturally, Ronaldo capitalized on this, inventing poignant narratives, hard luck stories that painted him as the plucky survivor of hardship. According to one of his tales, he had been snatched from the forest as a cub by unscrupulous clowns who had used him as a drug mule when they weren't subjecting him to bizarre sexual experiments. He complained of misuse by little people as well, indicating with a shudder and a well-timed paw over the eyes that he didn't want to talk about it. All the while, Ronaldo kept his bright button-like peepers open for opportunities to exploit what he discerned as the endless credulity of most humans. He realized that as long as he kept up a facade of innocence, he could get away with almost anything his heart desired. He desired many things, not all of them material or tangible. Most of all, he sought applause and attention, the power to compel obedience, to gratify an ever-increasing list of fetishes, kinks, perversions, and simply acts he hadn't tried yet. The power, ultimately, of a tyrant. What he wanted, he would have. Girls, drugs, powders, potions, gold bullion, wine, food, expensive outfits, a turbocharged upgrade on his unicycle, fast cars, membership in the most exclusive clubs, exotic adventure, or bionic implants that increased his strength and agility 1,000-fold. Yet Ronaldo's path was not altogether smooth. Women in 10 states pursued him for non-payment of child support after bearing his hirsute half-human progeny. A pimp in Detroit put out a hit on the bear after he poached several hoes for his own personal harem. Forensic experts pored over evidence, a clump of hair here, a honey trail there. But when the police net closed in, Ronaldo always found a way to slip through at the last second. The bear's adroit escapes fed his ego until he began to believe he was invulnerable, which is how he nearly met his Waterloo. A rest stop in Portland, Oregon saw Ronaldo slumming it, but for the short days and the freezing cold. He enjoyed a stay in the Pacific Northwest. He became popular with the downtown arts crowd, and his exhibitions of tumbling, juggling, and magic tricks drew large crowds to coffee shops and galleries. For a short time, he became the mascot of a circle of small press authors. Ronaldo began to relax and even enjoy himself, expanding his repertoire into tarot readings. One day, after convincing a well-developed freshman at the University of Oregon that her destiny lay in the arms of a small bear, he walked out of the metaphysical bookstore where he worked to sip a can of Coke and smoke a cigarette. After chugging the soda and stabbing out the butt, he looked around for a trash can. Finding none in the vicinity, he crumpled up the can and I'm sorry, he crumpled up the cig and tossed it in the gutter. Within minutes, Ronaldo heard the blare of sirens. A crowd began to gather on the opposite street. He looked around, confused. When he saw that they were pointing at him, a chant began to well up, punctuated with angry cries of "Litterbug" and "Get that bear!" Interspersed amidst the crowd were sentient vegetable creatures and walruses wearing astronaut gear, all worked up, nervous, and agitated. Police officers had begun to lay down yellow tape across the nearest intersections. A cadre in green jumpsuits that prominently displayed the recycle symbol jumped from a van and began to run towards him. Making an effort to remain calm, Rinaldo quickly re-entered the store, shrugged on his backpack, jumped on his unicycle, and took off through the back door. And so I am just going to skip ahead because I don't want to overdo the time. The Bear's sojourn with Circus Berserkus followed his usual narrative arc. At first, Rinaldo's prowess, with trick cycling, acrobatics, and juggling combined with his uncanny tarot readings, captivated both circus folk and the public alike. But the honeymoon was short-lived. Despite larger and larger crowds, the daily take actually decreased, and people began to suspect a paw in the till. Lydia, the bendy girl, discovered a hole in the women's shower wall about a foot from the ground, with tiny paw prints leading away. The telltale ruts of a small unicycle were associated with exploding clown noses, the super gluing of the human cannonball, booby-trapped magic acts, and near-fatal accidents with fire. But nothing was even ever definitively linked with the bear, and his charm, combined with his stature, made an invincible shield against any accusation. As Rinaldo's fame increased, so did the audacity and boldness of his pranks. He insinuated himself into every act, suddenly flying through the air into the arms of the trapeze artists, goosing the showgirls, teasing the gimp into hysterics. Nude girls were seen running from his trailer at all hours, weeping and sighing, their bodies bearing claw and bite marks and an unmistakable pattern of red paws imprinted on the ass. In the beginning, Rinaldo was careful to choose his victims from the towns they passed through, but his appetite for carnal violence was fierce. He soon found in Rosie, the tattooed lady, hungers commensurate with his own. And their affair began in a fury of prop whips, paddles, candle wax, and anal pairs. The rougher he was, the more she liked it. Anything he wanted to insert, she was ready to receive. There was just one problem. His name was Bradley. Not the sharpest tool in the box, Bradley the Big compensated in size, strength, and musculature for what he lacked in brain power. His long-standing relationship with Rosie was based entirely on the strong man's extra inches. At first, he dismissed his suspicions of the tiny bear. He couldn't imagine that Rinaldo could be anything but a child substitute for Rosie, an outlet for her maternal instincts. He noted without alarm the amount of time the two spent together, the way Rosie bore the bear on her shoulders, or even crushed him close to her enormous breasts. When Bradley was around, Rinaldo did his best to appear docile and sweet. "It's like you've got a live teddy bear," Bradley would say, while Rosie stroked the bear's soft fur and kissed him gently behind the ears. But as soon as Bradley left, the dynamic changed. Rinaldo's tone changed from a soft growl to a dominating roar. Rosie went on all fours, and the bear used her body as a canvas for his perverse arts. One night in Des Moines, Bradley was walking his poodle when he heard a familiar voice coming from Rinaldo's trailer, followed by the sound of leather against skin and a gruff voice demanding submission. Bradley halted in his tracks. "That sounds like Rosie," he said to himself. "Rosie and Bear doing wild thing. Bradley not like." He stomped up to the trailer and pounded on the door. There was no response. "Little Bear," shouted Bradley, "is that my woman you got in there?" He began to batter the door with his huge fists. Silence. "Go away, you fucktard," said the bear from inside the trailer. Slowly, Bradley registered the insult. "Are you talking to me?" he yelled at last. "You're in for a world of hurt, you furry shit." Bradley ripped the door off its hinges and plunged his massive bulk into the trailer. The first sight to greet his eyes was Rinaldo in a Dom outfit, holding Rosie by a leash. "I'm sorry, Bradley," she said. "The bear is just so masterful." "How could you do this to me?" wailed Bradley. "Wasn't I good enough for you? How did this happen? How long have you two been—" Rinaldo reached up and raked his claws over Bradley's stomach. time for you to leave, he said. I don't want to have to hurt you. Just go now. The strong man lunged at the bear. I don't understand. What do you mean by leave? Vamos, exit, get out, move. You've called me a fucktard. Bradley doesn't take kindly to that word. Sounds a lot like shit talk to Bradley. And this is actually, um, again, this was based on reality. All my stories are based on fact. There was a guy, Bradley, something or other, Bradley Sands, who was a big time Bizarro guy, who was one of the people like Donald Armfield, I think. Yeah, I said his name again, who will never let me, they will never forget that I stood up for myself when I was attacked for by several members of the Bizarro community and basically canceled from Bizarro, even though Brian Keene said Alex S. Johnson is Bizarro, and he was the horror grandmaster, and he won like 2 Bram Stoker awards. So fuck you guys. Anyway, so this Bradley Sands said, "You're a shit talker." Okay, yeah, I am, man. Who's in Harvard Widener Library? You're not. Um, anyway, you call me a fucktard. Bradley doesn't take kindly to that word. Sounds a lot like shit talk to Bradley. Does it? Asked the bear. I think it's just an appropriate description. What do you think, Rosie? Pretty much, said the tattooed lady. Shit talker, yelled Bradley. Grabbing Ronaldo by the hind legs, he tugged him out to the trailer, windmilled him around his head, and threw him across the grounds. The bear landed in a bale of hay. He rolled off, straw sticking to his fur, and charged Bradley with a series of lightning handsprings. Gripping the strong man's neck between his legs, he head-butted him. Bradley fell to the ground. Astride him, Ronaldo swatted his face, ripping chunks of flesh and carving bloody holes in his cheeks and forehead. Red-faced and enraged, Bradley got to his feet, wrested the bear's legs from around his neck, and slammed him to the ground. That was a really stupid move, even for you, growled the bear. Dashing back into the trailer, he emerged with an assortment of cutlery and power tools. He whipped the blades through the air, faster and faster. Bradley looked stunned. He couldn't quite track the bear's movements. I want you to explain what you meant by fucktard, he gasped as a meat cleaver grazed his shoulder, raising a line of blood. Then his right arm dropped off. Too dumb to live, said the bear, dropping a chainsaw blade across Bradley's left shoulder. The strong man now resembled a human sprinkler head, as powerful bursts of arterial blood shot from his head, neck, and chest. Bradley's final words were interrupted by a Ginsu knife. His head rolled to the ground, still formulating sounds. Shit talk. There's a lot more, but you get the idea. So, that's Ronaldo, the world's
You got the idea.
The world's smallest circus bear. He's only 3 feet tall, but man, he's what he makes up in for in what he lacks in stature, he makes up for in ferocity. So and dominance, he's a very dominant bear too, and he gets all the women. I'm telling you. And similar to his creator, I've never had any complaints. So okay, so that was my contribution, and so now I'd like to open things up for discussion. I really am fascinated by Kat's whole history with collaboration with Jack Micheline and Charles Bukowski. Kat, could you talk about collaborating with Bukowski?
Well, the thing about that is, it all started with Charles Plymell. I met Plymell, and he's still alive. I think he was born in 37.
Mm-hmm.
And he was on his way to see Burroughs and Ginsberg. Now, I know that Bukowski died in 94. And Bukowski had 14 years at the post office, and I had 34. But the way he described post office is exactly how the post office was. It was pure torture. But I never met Bukowski. How I ended up being in collaboration with Bukowski was through Jack Michelin. Plymouth told me, he says, if you want to meet these beatniks, he said, they're all at the end of your life. If you want to go to Kansas with me from Milwaukee, I says, he says, we'll go to Kansas. We don't have to stay with Burroughs and Ginsburg. I said, nah, none of that, because they're both gay. And not that I'm against anything gay, but I just don't want to be around it. Anyway, he says, get a motel, and we'll stay there, all that. And I said, well, I don't even party. And he says, well, then you probably don't want to go because there's going to be a lot of that. Anyway, this was a couple of years before Burroughs and Ginsburg died. So he said, what you do, write a fan letter to all these people. Michelin, Bukowski was gone. He said Michelin, Burroughs, Ginsburg, S. Clay Wilson. Uh, let's see, there's Ray Bremser. Here's another one. I think it was to Amiri Baraka, uh, a couple of them, Ed Sanders. They call him Ed Sanders. They were calling him the Mark Twain of Woodstock, because he kind of looks like Mark Twain, and he's really, really quick. And Corso was gone then. He said Corso was the smartest of all the beatniks. He said Greg Corso was really smart. Anyway, Michelin was at that time, man. I mean, he was like he never had a job hardly, but he was real close friends with Bukowski. So what happened was he was hanging around at City Lights and he was painting alley walls and making these little ugly paintings and writing little chapbooks, 50 to 1. I had that one. I had a whole bunch of little chapbooks from Michelin. And I sent him the 25 and I said, do you want to do a book? He says, yeah. And he sent me like 6 poems of his. They're all excellent. He says, I want you to write 3 of your little dirty stories. I said, I can do that. And he says, and here's 4 Bukowski poems. But then I said, okay. So I went. I had a friend that lived here. Yeah, and it's getting ready to be printed again for like the 5th or 6th time. Anyway, he said, here's our stuff here. I told my friend, and he printed it up. We had uh, artists from Finland and from Australia and everything, man. It was a pretty cool book. And it was just, paper thin, no spine on the book, nothing like that. And it like about 15 years ago, they had them for sale for $65 a piece. And I didn't. I was like, "Are you crazy?" I had one in Marquette in my archives, but the main reason I like that archives is J.R.R. Tolkien. All of
Yeah.
his, The Ring and everything are in there, and they're all original manuscripts. Even his handwriting, we
Damn.
wrote it out and stuff.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. But anyway, Michelin, he kept sending me stuff, and I'd send him a 20 or I'd send him 15. I never sent him a lot of money. My wife was against it. And I said, I'm going to help the guy out. He he was they I think behind City Lights they dedicated I think Kerouac got a street named after him. I think Michelin got an alley. And I made a joke. I said, yeah, I'm the second garbage can in the Michelin alley. That's that's my pan area. And anyway, Michelin man, I sent him some books of crying, and he was pissed off, man. He got so fucking mad at me. Man, he says, you are a fucking asshole, traitor. Everybody, there's 12 people in LA right now, right, making Bukowski books, autobiographies and stuff. And he says, why the fuck? I didn't tell you to use those poems. I said, why the fuck you didn't tell me not to? You sent them to me. You sent me
Crazy.
four, you sent me 10 poems, four are books and six are Mitch's. And then you told me to do it. And I fucking did it, man.
Right.
So just send them back to me and I'll send you the money for that. And just fuck yourself, man.
Right.
I told them because like they were talking about Donald Armfield. That's the same shit, man. I've had it with all of them,
Yeah.
all of them. Anyway, yeah, Armfield got pissed at me for wanting to suggest a cover change. Anyway, Michelin, he like he thought about it for about a week, and he said, "Oh no, they're not that bad." He said, I'm glad. It's okay. Just send me some more books, and send me some money, And that
Right.
was the thing. And so I sent him the books. I sent him 10 copies and, $20 and here and there. And I was working at the post office and I had a wife and
Yeah.
daughter to
Sure.
support.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, we made friends. I made friends with his son. He lives in Arizona, and his son took over after Michelin died. No, he died on the BART, whatever that is, and
Oh,
stuff.
wow. Yeah.
Uh, subway in
Yep.
LA and stuff.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
just went to sleep on the subway and he died.
It's called the Bay Area Rapid Transit. So it's a
Okay,
train
I
that
know it's
goes.
called
Yeah. Yeah.
BART, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I never been on it. I didn't know anything about it, but yeah. Michelin, man, after that, we got to be pretty good friends. He sold me little paintings. My wife hated them. I put them up. She just said, oh, we got that. Anyway, yeah, we got to be pretty good friends. And then he died, man. All these guys keep dying. Plymouth, I don't know what the hell. He's taking vitamins or something. He's still alive.
I think he and Modiano just did a book together, or with
Who
S.A.
did?
Griffin. He and Modiano did a book like with S.A. Griffin, I think.
He
Um,
had
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Plymouth had Cherry Valley.
Right,
Cherry
yeah,
Valley Editions. That's where Ginsberg's farm was. That's where I went.
right.
And he had Cherry Valley, books. He had Tornado Alley of Burroughs. That's one book I know of for sure that he published for Burroughs. And he published a bunch of them. Yeah, I mean, a bunch of books, but a lot of them were hardcover.
Hmm.
I have a copy of his. I think I might still have it. It's Forever Wider, and it was a hardcover. And yeah, that's how I met all those guys. I read with Ed Sanders about 3 or 4 times, and he was in the Fugs.
Right, yeah, yeah.
He had a tie. He had a musical tie. He he could play it really good too. He used to he'd freak you out like it, make you think you're on acid, man. You're like, where the hell did that? And same thing with Ann Wallman. I She was the big beatnik woman of Colorado. What's the thing in there in Boulder, where all the beatniks were?
Yeah. That's
I
my dad's friend, Alan Tempko, was because he went to Berkeley and got a journalism degree, and Alan Tempko was one of the people on the road, and he was like a teacher of my dad's, and they were actually friends until he died. And he gave him a blurb, so that's pretty cool. But yeah,
but yeah, it, Michelin went around. He knew all of the beatniks. I mean, he was from New York, New Jersey, one of the two.
yeah,
A lot of them traveled back and forth, East Coast, West Coast, same thing, back and forth.
yeah,
And I didn't travel. I had a job. I had a
sure,
family. I gave up everything. I would go that one trip to New York. That was my big trip. And then when we went to Paris, I read at what do you call it? Can't even think of it now.
Shakespeare and Company.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a Shakespeare and Company, and it was right across from the Notre Dame, where the thing that just burned down and they're
Yeah.
reopening. My wife and I went in there, and I was wearing a Milwaukee Brewers hat, and I felt somebody hit me like that in the back, man, and I turned around, and it was a priest, and I grabbed him by the hands. I put him down, man. That's when I was still really strong. And I put him down on the floor, on his knees. I said, "Oh no, that's okay." I said, "You can't wear a hat in here." I said, "Okay, take it."
Excuse
I
me.
I had him down, man. I was like, "Uh-oh, gotta go."
Yeah, sorry, I got an appointment for
Oh,
about a
okay.
half hour.
Yeah, I
Okay,
gotta
Call.
cool.
get going too.
Back to
My
your stuff.
Hmm.
Lovely,
Yeah,
lovely.
yeah.
So what else you got going on, Alexis? I saw that you had a thing going on with four other women. One was Francine Witt. She had to go probably.
I got a new
Yeah.
book that I'm shopping around called Combustible. Um, that's about it. Not much going
Don't
on.
you
What
don't
what
you
what
don't
what
you
is
have a
what is combustible? I'm sorry. What is combustible?
Combustible is my new full length that I'm shopping around right now.
I could do it,
Right publisher.
you know. I mean, I give like, 60-40 as far as royalties, and you know, I'm working with the best in the world, so I mean, just at least consider it.
The
So,
author, I'll definitely consider it and maybe send
okay,
you a script. We can take a look.
cool.
Everyone, really good reading, really lovely. Um, thank you for
Thank
including me.
you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Your poetry was amazing
Yeah,
Kind of just
to get
yeah,
here.
I wanted to, while we will still have you, I wanted to talk about some of the particularly striking, um, the erotica, and you've been described as the queen of erotic poetry, if I'm not mistaken. Um, who were some of your inspirations and influences, as far as erotic writing?
I really didn't have any. I just wrote what I wanted.
Good.
I didn't really. I read a nice Nin when I was a girl, and I liked her. I liked Henry Miller, although he's a bit of a misogynist.
That's for sure.
Really didn't have anybody to lead the way for what I do. I'm not an academic. I have a degree in theater with an emphasis in acting from University of California, Santa Barbara. Um, and
I
I
was just, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just recall that we're in at least one anthology together, and I believe it's the Anais Nin book that, from the Four-Chambered Heart, that Marie Lecrivain put out, right?
didn't hear that last part.
Oh, I believe we're in at least one anthology together,
Yeah,
from the Four-Chambered Heart, a tribute to Anais Nin, right? With, that Marie Lecrivain put out.
it's
Um,
quite possible. She
yeah.
published my first book,
Oh, okay. And along with,
Lost My Virginity to Michael Cohen and other Hardstaff.
yeah, that's amazing,
Published
amazing.
that
And
first book.
also, I think, John Fitzgerald and Ellen Cardona, um, the amazing actress and poet. I mean, she was in, Chocolat, right, with Johnny Depp. She's also in that book, so pretty cool. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just,
No, that's okay. I'm pressed for time here. I have to be
yeah,
somewhere in about 20
yeah.
minutes. I live in the middle of the
Thanks
Mojave.
for joining us.
Otherwise, I'd love to continue, and maybe we'll do it
It
again.
was great to meet you.
Yeah, it's great, really great to meet you, Alexis. And
We'll
you've got a
have a good
great
one.
name too. It's easy for me to remember.
Alexa, change the channel.
All right, all right. I will leave you with this
Have a
one.
good one.
Alexis is my middle name. Rhone is my first husband, and
Oh.
Fancher is my present husband. So the person inside of that has completely disappeared from the world. People that knew me in high school have no way to find me, which is lovely. Anyway, thank you so much. I'm going to
Thank
go.
you.
Okay.
I love
Here's my last limerick for the girl of the desert. Still there, Alexis?
I'm still here, darling.
Okay. My name is Pancho. I work on a rancho. Earn $250 a day. I go home to Lucy. She gives me some pussy and takes my $250 away. That's what you can think about when you're on your desert hills out there.
I will. And as always, love you. Good to see you.
Okay, bye-bye. Love you too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna head out. Gotta go.
Okay,
right.
sounds good.
Cool.
Well,
Well,
thank you so much,
thank
Kat.
you for
That was
coming and
amazing.
joining us.
Yeah, thank you so
Yeah,
much
it
for
was really
joining
cool.
us.
Would you ask me to sing a song?
Yes, please sing us a
No,
song.
I'm not gonna sing a song. You know what though? I'm ninth in line to begin a guitar course at the VA.
Oh, cool.
They give you they give you a beginner's guitar and you get 10 courses, you know. And then after the 10 courses, if you pay it, whether you learn to play or not, they give you a guitar.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
I just signed up for that. Now I've got my sleep apnea machine coming. I got to go on the 13th for that. They said that every hour I uh I quit breathing for 27 seconds. Either
Damn.
20 seconds. I don't think it's 27 minutes. It said 27 times in a night I quit breathing.
Damn. So
My
sorry.
wife said that's snoring. Now a nebulizer that I smoke, I feel like Alice in Wonderland, you know. Put the steroid in there and you would. And now I have to try 3 different skull caps on to inhale, you know, for my sleep apnea. And I won't even tell you about the test that I had to stay the night. Man, they put this shit all over me, man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lord. I had to
Sleep
sleep on
study.
my side, then I had to sleep on my back, and I had to go take a leak, and the doctor I waved up, hey, he comes and gets all these wires on me and gives me like a little box, and I run in there and take a pee and come back to bed. Had to do that twice, so that wasn't no fun. But that was about 2 weeks ago, so and I'm all messed up. Yeah, Alexis is good, man. I'm glad to see it. That'd be good if you could connect with him. Hey, don't talk about Donald Armfield no more. He ain't even worth he ain't even worth your time.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
he's
Really
not
do.
worth wasting one thought on him.
Right on.
He's getting right now. He lost his wife, and
I'm
he's got a
sorry to
new
hear
girl,
that.
and he's got 4 daughters.
Really
So
sorry to hear that. Yeah, that's
his,
sad.
whatever writing he's doing, he was never, ever as bad as Red Fox, Red Folks, or whatever, however he pronounces his name. That motherfucker, man. I still fucking punch him right in the face, and I'm 71 years old, man. I'd give him a fucking hodazo. He would know where it came from, man. Yeah, but
That's why
anyway,
we love you.
it was a good time, and we'll see. What are they calling you? Pickles? Are you
Pickles, yeah.
Pickle?
Pickles, yeah.
Hmm?
That's Aaliyah.
Yeah.
Aaliyah.
I just saw that.
Yeah.
The hell is that
Pickles
Pickles,
was the
man?
nickname he gave me.
It's a
Oh,
nickname. It's a
that's the
term of
name.
affection.
You
Yeah.
got to get a better pen name than Pickles.
Sorry, it's not a pen name. It's just I love her, so I call her
Dill
Pickles.
Pickles or
I like
something.
pickles. I like sweet pickles. How about
Pickles
sweet pickles?
not too bad.
Okay.
Not too bad. I even eat pickled okra.
Mhm.
People don't eat
Really?
that. That's my hillbilly upbringing.
I've
Okay,
had
well
that.
I'm gonna I'm gonna see you guys, and
All
I'll
right.
be in touch with you. And I'm gonna keep working on this burrows thing. The whole
Hells
thing
yeah.
is, it's got it. When I saw that the drugstore cowboy was made in Oregon,
Right.
'89, and I said, ah, and we're gonna have George O'Keefe. I said, you know what? You cut all that shit out and just take him down close to the border, and where I know stuff is where the prairie dogs are, but there are no
Yeah.
prairie. I don't think there's any prairie dogs in Oregon. Maybe they are, but I don't know. All right, I had a good time, man. Thanks a lot, and
Thank
I'll
you.
be
Thank
talking to
you.
you. Okay,
Okay, cool. Take care.
Have a good rest
see you
of your
later.
day.
Bye,
Later.
Pickles.
Okay, well, it looks like it's just Pickles and
Aaron
I.
Pickles.
So we could hang out a little bit, or we could, it's all up to you. I know you sometimes like you need to go, but
I can
you know,
hang out for a bit.
okay, we can hang out.
Like,
So, how are you doing? You're looking fine as always.
thank you. I'm
You know,
pretty.
give you a little bit of a well, a boop, first of all.
Ooh,
Boop. And then um
ooh,
a
where's my key?
squeezes.
Here it is.
Squeezes. So what are you most excited about of all of our projects that we're doing?
All of our projects. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
because
Um,
it's just a
what am I most
feast, right?
excited about?
Yeah,
Wow. Oh gosh. Every. Oh my gosh. They all have their own thing.
yeah,
I'm still pretty excited about Hand of Doom.
yeah. We didn't get a
Mm,
chance because Alexis had to go, but so to talk about that when she read that poem about the runaway of the 14-year-old man, man, that was
yeah,
that was powerful.
yeah. So yeah, so much power in her poetry, and yeah, I just really honestly, I think of all the poets that I've heard, like, I mean, I don't know like a lot of female poets, but I don't think I've ever heard anything like that before, and I think she's one of the best ones I've ever heard.
Me too, me too.
Absolutely love it.
And a lot of see what I a lot of people like Renee Diedrich, who did the Dirty Girls anthology, and her whole idea was to be like the female Bukowski. Well, I think Alexis is not trying to be anybody else. I
Right?
mean,
No, yeah, exactly.
it's her unabashed, raw, real stuff, and that's what makes it
Yeah.
definitional almost. I mean,
Hmm.
as strong in her own way as Patrick Califia or Poppy Z.
Hmm.
Bright.
Right.
I think
Hmm.
that she would certainly make a huge contribution to anything we put out.
Hmm.
And whether it's, I mean, I know she's interested in the goddess one, and then um, Omahakali, and then yeah. So there's so many, but what's really fascinating is that they're also evolving. I mean, they're living objects as well. I mean, they're living things. That these books are not static. I mean,
Hmm.
we have Carrie Lee Chrome for the Burroughs book and for the Bauhaus book because she had already finished those pieces
Mm-hmm.
respectively. Although she still wants me to edit them and show it to her. Obviously, I would always respect her wishes to show her whatever my edits, just so she's assured that it's, how she
Mm-hmm.
wants it to be. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but we did, she did have to pull out of the Sabbath book with Children of the Doom, unfortunately,
Yeah.
regretfully, and then we're as Sandy DeLuca and I are filling in for her, so we're still to write that story, Children of the Grave.
Yeah.
I think that'll be beautiful. Also, we're with Sandy and I are doing the Lennon box, which is sort of her
Mm-hmm.
dark fantasy story about, or it's a dark fantasy novella about the ghost of John Lennon, which is
Yeah.
discovered in this box at this rock memorabilia store in Providence, Rhode Island, where she
Mm-hmm.
was born and raised, and she lives in the suburbs of Providence. And so, and then the follow-up to, okay, let's talk about, again, I'm still just, I guess, amazed, impressed, proud as hell that we got into cemetery dance,
Yeah.
right?
Awesome. Mm-hmm.
I mean, cemetery dance was where I kind of started out reading, like, I forget when I mean, I've been aware of it. I think it started in 82, and it rapidly became the most significant magazine in horror. And then they published everybody. I mean, they published Peter Straub, they published Stephen King, and they published, you know, the Richard Chismar, who founded Cemetery Dance. He is a collaborator with King, as well as with his son Billy Chismar, also is a collaborator. I think they made a movie with King, so as well
Oh.
as publishing him. So that's pretty amazing. And Cemetery Dance also is publishing Billy Martin, Poppy Z. Bright's nonfiction book about Stephen King, which is called Water If God Wills It, Spirituality and Religion in the Work of Stephen King, which is, I think it's pretty coming out pretty soon from Cemetery Dance, right? So our friend Billy Martin. And so it's the gold standard as far as um, horror is concerned. So it's very significant that they gave us a rave review, not just like a tepid, right? It wasn't like a tepid. You guys who give us the tepid blue likes, you need to realize, okay, anybody who's watching this who's a friend of ours, I know we love you, but we need some solid loves. I mean, I want to see when I don't want mean to be tyrannical here, but I want to see some solid, full love hearts, okay, from now on. Sorry, but what we're doing has never been done before, you know. And I want like a standing ovation for Nocturnicorn Books, basically, because all of us are benefiting from the firm is the triumphs of the firm benefit every author individually. And there's a kind of a synergistic effect as well. It raises all of our profiles. And I really like Cat is no bullshit. He says it like it is. He's like a bear. He's like a small bear in that respect. He just says what needs to be said. He says the
Yeah.
things, right?
Mm-hmm.
He names names. He's not afraid of people's bullshit. I respect the hell out of the man. I really do. We don't know anybody else
Yeah.
like that. Even our friends like Garrett Cook um, is not willing to name the names because they're still afraid of people like the Clash Books people or all the other cool kids on the block. And Nocturnicorn Books is coming for you. We are going to lap you, guys. All right. And I don't care what anybody thinks. I mean, I've already been canceled from both from Bizarro and Horror, so it isn't not like, I'm not controversial, but all I say is I say things that are factual, and people get angry when I talk about facts. Why? Why are
Yeah.
people offended when you talk some facts, Pickles?
Shitballs.
Shitballs. Yeah,
Um,
well, besides shitballs, but yeah, I mean,
because they're inconvenient sometimes,
yeah.
or because they don't want to have to like look reality in the face, I guess. I don't know. I don't yeah. Um,
I don't know. There seems to be a
I
lot of
can't do.
reality denial out there.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
What is your most so you track a lot of stories that don't get a lot of mass media coverage, Aaliyah, and like what are some
Oh
of the
man.
stories that you're tracking that you think that are underreported, that people should be aware of?
Oh geez. My gosh, I don't. Gosh, I'll have to think about that for a second because I mean, there's so much different stuff going on.
Sure.
There's been a lot going on. Just seems like I don't know if it's. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to tell if it's just like just because we have like internet and social media, but I see so like I just see like a lot of um violent violent crimes and stuff happening, and I don't know if it seems more violent than it
I put in the
used to be,
headphones
but
because I didn't want the folks to have to listen to some of the more erotic stuff.
oh,
But
okay.
I like to wear my hat,
Yeah,
Bear likes to have the bear hat.
yeah.
Right. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of violent crime that happens, a lot of
Mhm.
people losing their minds, and,
Yeah,
and that terrorist.
and also like this is gonna sound it's gonna sound petty, but it's really not because um I think well we have to just know what is in our in our stuff that we consume, and like I just
Not petty.
this
I mean,
is
it's
this is
important.
crazy, but like I've noticed so much that I don't know, to me it seems like so much food quality has gone down
Yeah.
too. Hmm. And the inflation is just insane, but like it just seems like there's a lot of I don't know, just putting other stuff in the food that's not supposed to go in there or doesn't need to be in there, you know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
just like I don't know, all kinds of stuff. Like I just think that I think our environment is well, there's the PFAs, and there's like there's all kinds of stuff going on, so it just seems like there's a lot of like toxic stuff, and I don't know if
Yeah.
it's just because like I have the ability to see it online. It's like all this stuff probably pops up in my algorithm, and I don't know if that's and it was like was the world always this bad and I just didn't realize it, or is it just because I pay attention more? I don't
Yeah.
know. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I've heard people say, like, sometimes people kind of dismiss stuff that's happening, when there's, when it seems like there's a strange, awful lot of train derailments or a strange, awful lot of houses exploding, and,
Yeah, right.
and just,
You really,
and it's
you
just
really
like,
got kind of get into that,
it's
talking
all
about
over. Huh?
house explosions. You're kind of a little bit obsessed with exploding houses, Pickles.
No, no, it like I see that a lot, and it pops up in my YouTube, and
Yeah.
I'm just astounded by how often it happens. And I don't know. Sometimes people will say, "Well, it was always like that," but you just hear about it more because we have the internet, and so it's like I don't know what I guess I don't know if that's what it is, or you know, you would know more than I would know.
I don't know, maybe. Um,
Because I was a kid in the 90s when
wow.
the, so
Wow.
like, yeah,
You
so got like our first computer when we were like, I don't know, I think I was like 11 or 12, and that was the first time I was using the internet. And it was just like a big deal at the time. I remember that. So,
yeah. I think I'll do another reading. Is that okay?
sure.
Okay. Well, this is just a chapter from Bad Sunset. It's available on
Hmm.
Amazon, and it's my second novel after Death Moon, and it's a weird Western. It's a splatter Western.
Yeah.
And this is chapter two. It's called Conflict Resolution. So basically it takes place in this border town, and in here it's in New Mexico. I don't name it New Mexico. And then and so I'm gonna read from um I guess I don't know. I don't want to read too much, but I'm gonna read from the first chapter. And this part is a section called The Bad Shootout.
Mm.
Sam's one good eye twitched on its stalk, the mare's sight, as the sole remaining barkeeper of the Crazy Coot Salon. He thought he'd seen it all. Turned out he'd only seen a fraction of a smidgen, and that was before he lost the eye. The all, on the other hand, looked pretty grim, and that was just the part he could make out from beneath the bar, using a small hand mirror attached to a broom handle. Sam chanced a direct gander, sternly admonishing himself not to be a little Nelly boy. His body tilted at an extreme right angle, he sprang up from behind the bar like a demented sideways jack-in-the-box, and quickly ducked again when a bullet shattered the mirror behind him into fractal shards. I just realized that there are going to be some people here who are not going to understand that, you know, they're going to think that what Cat Cat said one thing that could be, mistaken for homophobia, which is not at all the case. But, we're probably going to get canceled by some
I
more
didn't. I have no idea what
people. But,
what was said that evidently it's.
I just think either people are along for the ride, and then in which case they're uh, along for the best ride of their fucking lives, or they're miserable shits who don't understand humor. Anyway, that was just a thought. I'm sorry. Um, he waited a good 15 minutes for a sequel. With none forthcoming, he eased his head up once, once more, this time tilting his shoulders in the opposite direction. Laying on the sidewalk sawdust, maybe 5 feet from the bar, a severed hand clutched a .45 Smith & Wesson. The bullet had come from that gun, Sam figured, seconds before the hand finally surrendered its electrical energy and froze. The finger still twitched with a horrible subtlety, but the danger had passed, at least for now. Paintings had been ripped and gouged. Chairs shattered into piles of hairy splinters resembling tarantulas. The ones that suddenly pounce from outhouse walls and burrow their fat, hairy bodies into your nostrils en route to the anal sphincter. The roulette table used for dagger practice. Blue feather boas littered ground crunchy with half an inch of broken glass. Every square inch of floor space covered with muddy footprints, spattered with liquor, impressed with burnt and crucified remains, heaped with bones, hooves, gloves, boots, plus another layer of spent shotgun shells and a whole lot more boots. Men, or those elements of which men had once been comprised, stuck to the walls, mashed against the ceiling like French fried taters, dribbling from multiple holes. The worst thing about this carnage, this chaotic tableau, was that none of it was exactly novel. Almost as long as they'd been employees of the crazy coot, Sam Lee, the bartender, Mike Martinez, the manager, had been witnesses, usually helpless, to an endless cycle of destruction, which was hard to explain to the suits, the well-dressed men from corporate headquarters who showed up every so often with clipboards, questions, and smirks. Hard to explain to the law, the natty smirkers took for granted simply did not apply here. This was Malpuesta del Sol. Here, justice came out the business end of a gun. It wasn't something you read about in a book from your grandma's subscription library. The clientele of the crazy coot were hard, grim men, burnt to a crispy blackness by the sun. Men, a tiny, statistically improbable percentage of whom were actually women, or hermaphrodites, whose pores oozed a hideous, oily substance like steak's last dance before the charcoal mortis sets in. Dusty men with big boots and enormous hats. Men who liked their poker played high stakes and their whores with frilly, crotchless panties. Real guys who never had to explain what they were doing in town. They had little schooling, having learned far more from the ways of the cow, the steer, the pig, the mountain goat, and the wolverine than any prim Victorian schoolmarm would dare imagine, let alone scratch timidly on a slate. Sure wasted chalk, as old man Guggenheim would put it. They ignored the highly polished spittoons nervous bartenders proffered them, spewing their streams of tobacco directly on the ground, at other men, at whores, or Sam and Mike, which amounted to the same thing. Their beards were snarled with blood and baccy juice. They feared nothing and looked for no favors from anybody. They sought only crude short-term goals, the next big score, the next fat whore, the next opportunity to nail a strange to nail a stranger to the wall and plug him full of holes. And then the holes in a frenzy, awful to behold. The scene Sam Lee currently surveyed had begun exactly 1 week ago. As he began the slow work of mop, broom, and freelance applications of the mortician's art, Sam recalled the bizarre circumstances which had initiated the mess. "I'm going to knock you into the middle of next week, friend," said Woody Jepson to Paco Jimenez. "Yeah? How you going to manage that, cowboy?" "You'll see, Paco, I'm doing it right now. Catch up with you next week." "Huh?" Paco's body exploded into a million little quicksilver globes. "Hasta la vista, Paco," said Woody, nursing his hand from a blow powerful enough to knock a man into the middle of next week. Then time stood still. Brawlers froze in place, mid-strike, thwack, kick, elbow, joust, and knee punch. Drinks hurled in the air, remained hurled. Vomitus expelled now floated as liquid sculpture, The saloon a mosaic of arrested energy, hurtling limbs, splashed with bile and green liquor like a drunken boat painted by Van Gogh. Then it was next week. Paco returned, and with him the primal laws popularized by Sir Isaac Newton. Chunks of the mosaic broke apart, translated into discrete episodes in time. Drinks splashed down on the floor or the brawlers' heads. More drinks fell, followed by splinters of furniture, table legs, tableware, goats' heads, and raccoon bones. Raccoon bones? Anyway, a moment of hushed awe. Now time moved again. Nemesis baited nemesis. Clan baited clan. Many bad names were called. Many drinks cracked, crashed, and spilled until the saloon was emptied on its collective ass. There were some who said that Woody's punch had ripped a hole in the space-time continuum, and that nothing would ever be the same. Others surmised that the punch had opened up a portal between two worlds, ours and the one inhabited by crawling things from the abyss. Whatever the case, news of the fight spread far as the eastern seaboard, where politicians and scientists alike pondered the headlines. News: man punched into middle of next week. And editorial: is the Wild West even wilder than previously thought? Of all the fights in all the little towns in all the West, this one spectacular chingasso stood out. Of course, prim and fastidious city matron, why don't I know how to pronounce that? City matron? Knew something of
How is it spelled?
Matron.
Yeah, matron.
Matron.
Mhm.
Knew something of the frontier, if only from myth, tall tales, and wildly inaccurate accounts dragged back from the blood-red dirt, like a white girl captured by vicious Mexican Indian sodomites. The West was where you went if you didn't value your life, or the conditions of your life had become so bad that death in a gunfight, plugged right through the eyes with cold lead, seemed preferable. But this incident was different. It suggested that given sufficient anger, will, and punching speed, the matrix of consensual reality, the very laws governing nature, could be violated. God only knew what was coming next. The town of Malpuesta del Sol, which is literally bad sunset in Spanish, sits in a basin between two mountain ranges. To the west, the mountains known as Hijos de Puta, hunched together like the rib cage of a starved horse. To the northeast, perennial fogs caress the slopes of the dreaded Culito Range, which means, in English, little asshole, which rumor holds is haunted by the blue ghosts of especially brutal banditos, the so-called baby eater gang that terrorized cattle ranchers in the late 1880s. 20% of this desert region is comprised of grasslands, the big alkali Zacaton and the Tobosa, which early Spanish explorers described as being belly-high to a horse. Rain here. The desert is rich in animal life, with such species as the kangaroo rat, mountain lions, the road runner, and a spectacular variety of lizards. Signs of the human species, however, paint a different picture. On approach, one begins to encounter messages that read like the exhortations of a demented illiterate. The first in a series of wood planks is benign compared to those encountered near the outskirts of town. Don't mess with Malpuista, a sign scrawled in a crude and nearly indecipherable hand, hangs on a prickly pear cactus from a rotting hemp cord, pierced with arrows, riddled with gunshots, and crusted over with what appears to be clumps of dried snot. Closer to town, the messages get downright ugly. Strangers not wanted, for example, or strangers get a pine box. No exceptions. At this point, the traveler, lacking fortitude, will reconsider retracing his steps, but he will also ponder the mile upon mile of desolate desert and quickly grasp the fine, grim moral of the boneyard. And though his head may pivot on his neck, he will continue with head hung low. Only hardened outlaws get a charge from the signs, a feeling like a warm balloon blossoming in the gut, the promise of high risk stoking an adrenaline high. Others just panic, nailed to the cross of geographic fact. You are here. When they see, silhouetted against the sky, rippling with heat, the bones. About a mile away from Malpuesta del Sol proper, it begins with the locals call the boneyard. Heaps of skulls, animal, human and unknown, ribs, scapulas, tibias, shanks, femurs, digitals, body parts galore, some still shedding rotten skin, others shining in the way the relentless sun cannot thoroughly explain. There is no apparent order or plan to the boneyard. Bones and body parts have evidently been used for target practice, smashed, blown to bits, hammered into powder, stomped on, perhaps even sodomized with a steam hammer. Any traveler with a conscience still intact will cry out against the willy-nilly dispersal of remains, the lack of respect for the dead, the absence of even a trace of dignity for the poor souls whose pieces and lumps litter the landscape. But he will go on, and she will persevere because there is no turning back. The turkey buzzards and vultures scatter from the traveler, making their way through the grisly piles and sizzling bits. They circle slowly in the sky above as the traveler halts exhausted before the terminal sign, "You're dead, sucker." So that is just a little bit from Bad Sunset, and that's my Weird Western, and it is available on Amazon, and it's cheap, 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 cheap. So I think it's only about like $7. So if you're looking for some good to read, and you want a full novel that's fun, is really fun, got shenanigans, it's got all the violence and brutal sex and you could possibly imagine, and it's got the brujo in it. It's got Jesus Christ, got the devil, and what more do you want? Pick it up. Pick it up. So I think it's kind of time to wrap things up. We've gone since, well, so about 2 hours and 16 minutes, and we'll catch up with Pickles. I'm gonna take a short break. I'm gonna put this up on YouTube so the peoples can see our latest brilliant episode. And I love you so much.
Love you too.
Okay, Pickles. I'll see you soon.